I was wondering if we could hear your story. You said your story was like totally resonant, and then you slid it later down.
Yeah.
You could tell us from both sides of it. You could tell us the...
Sure.
Is that the F sharp?
Yeah. In 2003, I was.
It's a good time for that.
Let's see. Hold on. Oh, wait a minute. I rearranged them. Excuse me. I was near Silbury Hill. I was in England. I had gotten myself to Avebury, and I was looking for crop circles and guidance. It's actually, I mean, for me it's a long story. There had been months of guidance getting myself there, and I had 24 hours. It's like I had one day that I could actually go looking for crop circles, and I don't drive in England, no way. And so getting myself there was, a matter of guidance as well. But I happened to come into contact with this fellow at the Barge Inn who he owns the antique store that is at the crossroads in the center of Avebury. And he was born and raised there. He was born at the center of Avebury. It's like, wow, it's like, what better person could I have walk in, to take me around to the crop circles. And that was really cool. And then he found me a place to stay that night, which was a bed and breakfast that looked out on Silbury Hill. And, and I actually think it's like at the end of a little street, walking distance from maybe, I saw walking distance there, a little street that, I think it was like the closest bed to Silbury Hill. So, that's what I like to say. The closest bed to Silbury Hill.
There aren't many beds close to Silbury.
No, there are not very many beds close to Silbury. So, so that's where I was sleeping. And so, I actually, before, it was July 11th. It was July 10th when I got to Avebury, and I was sleeping overnight July 11th. So before, I got myself settled, and then I went back into Avebury and started dancing around the stones, going, "Come on, give us a crop circle, I'm ready for it, And there had not been very many that year because it had been very, very, very dry, and they do better with moisture. They appear better when the fields are wet, and been very warm, very dry, but I really, really, really wanted them to create one, and so I was like, dancing and saying hi, doing whatever my magic shtick is, and then I went back and went to sleep, and left the window open, the shutters, because I wanted to, if something was going to happen out there, I wanted to be able to see it. But I sleep on my belly, so at the middle of the night, I was kind of brought up in through hypnagogic state, and felt like something was going on out there. Didn't know what it was, just very sleepy in my state. And then very suddenly and very intensely, there was this energy field that hit my spine, hit the bottom of my spine and went up my spine and out my ears, out the top of my head, and it was so intense. It was like being in a jet engine. It was not subtle. It was not subtle. It was just intense. And it probably was 5 or 10 seconds, which, I've heard, and that's how long it takes them often to make the crop circles, is that they come down. And I thought for sure I had this image that I was in the outside rings and they were putting one in the field right there, and I'd somehow gotten in the outside rings of it, and it was resonating me. And when it stopped, 5 or 10 seconds, I heard a banjo chord. I heard a banjo in the bedroom. It went twang, and it was very, very clear and very humorous. And there's this kind of feeling like they went ta-da, don't worry, we're friendly. It's like this banjo. And then someone told me later that sometimes when you have manifestations through dimensions, that notes will emerge.
Huh.
Well, there was this note in the room, or a series of notes. I mean, a chord. It was a chord in the room, and you know, suddenly I was very, very awake, and my ears were just ringing. They were intensely ringing, and I, you know, I immediately got up and like went to the window, and it was pitch black, and I couldn't see anything, and I went downstairs to check the time. And actually, I think maybe first I like jumped on the bed a little bit to see if it was the springs of the bed that had made that noise, and it was completely silent. And I went downstairs to check the time, and it was almost 4 a.m. And so figuring back, I think it was at 3:45 that this event happened.
345?
345 is, you know, that's a geometric number, 345. That took me a while to figure out, but I had that time there. And and I got dressed, and I was like waiting for it to be light enough to go out, and because I was going to go find that crop circle immediately, and I kept looking out to see if there was anything, and didn't see anything. And then finally, you know, it was light enough, and I walked, and I circumambulated the entire area and did not see a new crop circle. And in Avebury, there's a little church, or a converted church that's now it's a place for going in, and they keep records, and they have computers there, and a little store, everything crop circle, and you can go in and find out if there's been any new activity, and there hadn't been. It was only me, and it was only me. Well, there might have been one other person involved. The day previous, I had, you know, when I met this fellow who owns the antique store, his name is Brian Sumbler. Brian was hosting a German fellow by the name of Reimer, and this was how I happened to meet them, was because he had brought Reimer in to see the pub which had a crop circle room, which is where I hooked up with them. And then I had made an appointment. I'd made a date that Reimer and I were going to go to Uffington the next day and see it, because I'd been told that I needed to. And so when I went to the shop, he was staying with Brian at the antique store, and I went in, and Brian's wife was at the desk, and I said, by the way, I had this thing happen to me. And they said, oh, really? You know, it was like a normal everyday thing for them. I don't know. And I said, so is Reimer here? And she said, well, no, Reimer got up in the middle of the night and decided he had to go back to Germany immediately.
Wow.
So I don't know what that was about.
Enough already, right?
Yeah, maybe. Or I don't know why he would get up in the middle of the night, and you know. So I don't know. Maybe it's possible that he might have had something happen to him also, but it freaked him out, or I don't know.
But since that you've learned.
Oh right. The last piece is that the result, one of the results of that effect was that I had F sharp ringing in my ear for a little over 2 years.
Wow.
And F sharp.
Yeah.
F sharp's the one that rings in the galaxy. F sharp is the note that rings in the king's chamber. And you know, and I found all that stuff out later. You know, I figured out what the note was just because I was hearing it all the time, and I sang it, went to the piano and tried to find the note, and it turns out it's actually a slightly flat version of F sharp. And when I heard this thing about the F sharp that rings in the galaxy, that was exactly how they described it. Was a slightly flat version of F sharp. You know, I was like, you know, thank you.
Ringy dingy.
Yeah, thank you. Ringy dingy, yes. I have a bell.
You have been activated.
Is that F sharp? No.
No, I don't think so. No,